I'm gonna be real with you. This might be one of those off seasons where everything shifts for the Buffalo Bills. You can feel it, right? That tension. That sense that we're standing at a crossroads. On one side, there's talk about giving our quarterback the kind of weapon that changes everything. On the other, there's real conversation about whether a major defensive piece might already be on his way out. And none of this is random. None of this is small. One move could completely reshape the identity of this offense. The other could signal that what we tried last season on defense just didn't hit the way we hoped. That's not just roster talk. That's philosophy. That's direction. That's what kind of team we're trying to be in 2026. As fans, we've been begging for that true number one presence. At the same time, we've been holding our breath watching whether the pass rush would finally take over when it mattered most. Something important is happening here, and the national media is starting to say it out loud. Before we dive into it, do me a quick favor. If you're a real Bills fan and you care about where this team is headed, hit that like button and subscribe. Bills Nation Update is brand new. We're trying to build something real here, and the goal is 2,000 subscribers to start. If you bleed red, white, and blue like I do, this is the place for you. So let's get into this first one, because this is the kind of rumor that makes you sit up straight. According to Bleacher Report, the Buffalo Bills were named the top trade landing spot for Philadelphia Eagles wide receiver A.J. Brown. Now, before anyone freaks out, no, there haven't been strong confirmed trade talks between Buffalo and Philadelphia. But this isn't coming out of nowhere either. Brown's name has been floating around trade discussions for a while now, and Bleacher Report went deep into breaking down potential trade value and realistic destinations. And when they looked at what the Eagles could get in return, they pointed right at us. And honestly, it makes too much sense. Let's call it what it is. The Bills do not have a true proven number one wide receiver right now for Josh Allen. We've got guys who compete. We've got depth. But we don't have that defensive coordinator nightmare type of guy who walks onto the field and changes the coverage before the snap. A.J. Brown is that guy. 3-time Pro Bowler. 3-time second-team All-Pro. Super Bowl champion. Still just 28 years old, turning 29 in June. When he's right, he's a legitimate top-tier playmaker in this league. Physical, explosive, dominant at the catch point. The kind of receiver Josh Allen would absolutely love throwing to. Now here's where it gets interesting. Bleacher Report projected his trade value at a 2026 fifth-round pick, a late-round pick swap in 2026, and a conditional 2027 third-round pick, which could become a second-rounder if certain statistical thresholds are met. That's not some insane franchise mortgaging package. That's calculated. And even Sports Illustrated's Albert Breer on the Breer Report projected something similar, around a third-round pick and a day 3 pick swap. So this isn't wild fantasy football stuff. Analysts are aligning on the idea that his value is in that mid-round range with conditions attached. But here's the complication. His contract. Brown's deal reportedly still includes $72.5 million in dead money. That's massive. That's the kind of number that makes front offices sweat. If Philadelphia were to move him, they'd almost certainly try to get the trade partner to absorb some of that financial weight. So now, you're not just talking draft capital, you're talking cap flexibility, long-term planning, and whether Brandon Beane believes this is the final piece to push this offense over the top. And let's talk about why the Eagles might even consider it. Bleacher Report mentioned that Brown struggled to remain the true centerpiece of the offense, and Philadelphia bowed out in the wild card round. There's a feeling that maybe his time there has run its course. That sometimes happens in this league. Windows close, relationships shift, schemes evolve. But if he hits the market, there will be suitors. And the Bills? We're described as the logical trade partner because we're reloading, because we're close, because we have an elite quarterback in Josh Allen who thrives with a physical alpha target. And let me just say this as a fan. If you plug a prime A.J. Brown into this offense, that changes defensive game plans overnight. That forces safeties to stay honest. That opens space for everyone else. That takes pressure off the run game. That gives Allen that go win it for me guy on 3rd and 8. But, and there's always a but, it also ties up cap space and draft flexibility during a period where this team has other needs. We're not one player away from perfection. We've got holes. We've got aging pieces. We've got decisions looming. So the real question is this: do you swing big and give Josh Allen the kind of weapon that shifts the entire offensive ceiling? Or do you stay balanced and build depth across the roster? Because what's happening on the other side of the ball might make that decision even more complicated. And that brings us to the second situation, one that could signal a very different direction for this team. Let's talk about what's happening with our pass rush. Because while we're talking about potentially adding a superstar weapon on offense, there's real momentum building around the idea that a major defensive piece might already be on his way out. ESPN's Matt Bowen recently broke down projected landing spots for the league's top 50 free agents, and he predicted that Joey Bosa will leave the Buffalo Bills after just one season. One season. That's it. And if that happens, it basically confirms that the experiment didn't go the way we hoped. Remember last offseason? The Bills made a big move signing Bosa, betting that he could overcome the injury history and return to that Pro Bowl-level pass rusher we've seen in the past. The idea was simple: pair him with the rest of the defensive front and finally get consistent pressure when it mattered. Now, to be fair, he did have moments. He started 15 games in 2025. He recorded 5 total sacks, which was second on the team. He had 5 forced fumbles, actually tied for the league lead in that category. And his quarterback pressure rate ranked 3rd among Bills defensive linemen. But here's the part that stings. He didn't record a single sack over the final 5 weeks of the regular season and playoffs. 0. And we all watched it. When the games got tighter, when everything slowed down, when quarterbacks needed to be put on the ground, it just didn't happen. Bowen predicts the Detroit Lions will land him, pairing him with Aiden Hutchinson to elevate their sub-package pass rush. And honestly, you can see that fit. Detroit had 16 sacks on 3rd down last season, tied for 15th in the league, so they're looking to boost that situational pressure. Bowen specifically mentioned Bosa's speed-to-power ability and his effort cleaning up latent plays as traits that would complement Hutchinson. But here in Buffalo, the story was more complicated. SI.com's Alex Brasky didn't sugarcoat it. He pointed out that while the sack numbers were decent on paper, the overall defensive line struggled all season to consistently get opposing quarterbacks on the ground. And beyond that, Bosa was largely weak against the run, which hurt us in key situations. Brasky even wrote that Bosa appears to be entering his age 31 season as someone who's just about finished as a top-tier pass rusher. That's tough to hear, but it's not baseless. Now, he did leave the door open. If Bosa returns at the right price, a bargain, maybe you consider it. But if it's anywhere near premium money, the feeling is that 1 year was enough of Bosa in Buffalo. And this is where everything connects. Because if the Bills are letting a 15-game defensive starter walk, if they're stepping back from a veteran pass rush investment, that could signal a shift. Jordan Dajani from CBS Sports even suggested that Buffalo might focus more aggressively on the offense this offseason. And here's where it gets really interesting. New head coach Joe Brady has history with Minnesota Vikings wide receiver Justin Jefferson. Back in 2019 at LSU, Brady was the passing game coordinator and wide receivers coach when Jefferson, Joe Burrow, and Jamar Chase had that historic undefeated season. Dejani predicted the Bills could make an aggressive move to reunite Brady with Jefferson, sending the Vikings a package of draft picks. Now think about that. National analysts are talking about Buffalo potentially swinging for A.J. Brown. Others are predicting a massive push for Justin Jefferson. At the same time, they're projecting us letting Joey Bosa walk. That's not random noise. That's a theme. That's offense over defense. That's building around Josh Allen. That's leaning into firepower instead of patching the pass rush with aging veterans. And when you put News 1 and News 2 together, here's what it really tells us. The Bills are at a decisive point. They tried the defensive veteran move. It gave flashes, but it didn't carry us in January. Now the conversation is shifting toward giving our franchise quarterback a true elite target. Whether that's A.J. Brown, a bold swing at Justin Jefferson, or something in that tier. As a fan, I can't lie. Part of me loves the aggression. Part of me wants to see this front office say, "We're done waiting. We're going all in around Josh." But another part of me knows defense still wins in the playoffs. And letting a starting edge rusher walk without a clear replacement is risky. This offseason feels decisive, not desperate, not reckless, but directional. Are we doubling down on offensive explosiveness, or are we risking imbalance? Either way, something is shifting in Buffalo. If you made it this far, drop a comment and tell me, would you trade for A.J. Brown? Would you let Bosa walk? Or would you try to run it back? And if you're a real Bills fan who appreciates honest takes and real conversation, make sure you like the video and subscribe. Bills Nation Update is just getting started. We're pushing toward that first 2,000 subscribers, and this is a space for fans who actually feel this team, not just report on it. Let's see where this ride takes us. Go Bills!